Hello, my dear Franken friends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen. How horrible of you to join us. Curl up, invite your friends, and by all means, make sure those lights are out. That way it's harder to tell what may or may not be lurking around you. There's nothing like a good mystery, am I right? Tonight will feature a singular tale of devilish design, curated by those wicked weavers of woe. And without further ado, allow me to pass the reins on over to our vivacious voiceover virtuoso, Trey Falco, for tonight's sinister story. Please keep all limbs and side covers at all times. We wouldn't want anything to go missing now, would we?
I was taken aback a little bit by what he had said. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm talking about potentially restoring your sight, he said. Who are you, anyway? Oh, forgive me. I haven't properly introduced myself. My name is Carl Steiner. Dr. Carl Steiner. That's so, I replied, feeling a flash of intrigue when he mentioned the word doctor. Yes, MD, PhD. To be more specific, I'm a neurosurgeon. You mean a brain surgeon? Well, to put it in layman's terms, yes. He paused for a moment. You look hungry. Why don't we go get something to eat and then afterwards we can discuss this in depth? Are you picking up the tab? I asked. But of course. He had me hooked. I was in no position to turn down the offer of a free meal, having not eaten since the previous afternoon. Plus, he had me genuinely interested when he mentioned possibly being able to restore my sight. Although I didn't allow myself to get my hopes up too much. I mean, for all I knew, he was some quack or con man. I decided to humor him and at the very least hear what he had to say. Sure. Why not? I said with a shrug. Excellent. He took me to a local chain restaurant. We sat down across from each other in a booth and he read the menu selections to me, giving my order to the server. He himself didn't order anything. The meal was easily the best I had had in weeks, which probably wasn't saying much since I had been sustained on a diet of fast food burgers and dumpster cast-offs for God only knew how long. I ate ravenously, gorging myself. He sat across from me mostly in silence, and I could feel his eyes studying me. After I had finished eating, he got down to business and laid it all out for me. He was a rather well-regarded neurosurgeon, now semi-retired, who had been an expert in the field of brain surgery for over 30 years. He had once worked for a major city hospital before stepping down and now worked teaching as a professor at a nearby medical school. He had recently made a major breakthrough in neurosurgery and devised a radical new procedure to repair damage to the optical lobe in the brain. The part of the brain that controlled vision. The part of my brain that had been turned into paste thanks to dear old Dad back when I was 8. He and his colleagues were looking for volunteer test subjects to try this new procedure out on, and I fit the bill. In addition to possibly being able to see again, I would be compensated for my contribution to medical science to the tune of $20,000. He warned me that the surgery was still highly experimental and not without risk. I could die or be rendered paralyzed or brain dead. When he was finished talking, he fell silent, awaiting my response. Frankly, I didn't feel like I had much to lose. My life was already shit. If it worked like he said it should, I would have my sight back and be 20 grand richer to boot. I would have a shot of finally being able to live a normal life. And if something went wrong and I wound up dead or a vegetable, well, then I wouldn't have to worry anymore about going hungry on a street corner without a roof over my head, at constant risk of starvation or dying from exposure, or even being murdered for thrills by some psycho who knew the cops wouldn't give fuck one about some blind homeless guy getting offed. This actually happened to a couple of guys I was casually acquainted with through my infrequent visits to the homeless shelter. I felt it was a win-win situation either way, so I didn't give it much thought before giving him my answer. Let's go for it. He seemed pleased with my response. We shook on it and he told me he would be in touch, and he knew where to find me when the time came. 3 weeks later, a taxi cab pulled up to me while I was on the sidewalk on another unsuccessful venture to generate some income through the mostly non-existent sympathy of the pedestrians who passed by. The driver told me he had been sent by Dr. Steiner to take me to the medical campus to prep me for surgery. He guided me into the back of the taxi, and off we went. 18 hours later, I was on an operating table surrounded by a team of physicians and technicians led by Dr. Steiner himself. He stood by my side and asked me if I was ready. I told him I was. He gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze and told me I would be fine, although I thought I detected a faint note of uncertainty in his voice. I was hugely excited, knowing that when I woke up, I might be able to finally see the face of the man who was giving me this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and also terrified that I might not wake up at all. But there was no backing out now. The anesthesiologist placed the mask over my face and I breathed deeply, fading into the blackness without even knowing it. Because the blackness had already been there all along. When I regained consciousness, my head, which was heavily bandaged, hurt like hell. My eyes were covered, but even through the layers of gauze, I could tell the surgery had been a success. I could detect light with my eyes, a barely perceptible sense of brightness. I sat up excitedly and immediately strong arms restrained me and forced me back down to the bed.
Oh, would you please calm down? We haven't even gotten to the maiming yet. Sorry about that, dear listeners. Is it time for a sponsor break already? Well, you're in luck because I've got the perfect one in mind. Tell me, friends, are you tired of those tenacious teenagers running amok in your neighborhood, vandalizing your hard-earned property? How about that one guy who always insists on mowing his lawn at 7:30 on a Saturday morning? Have you tried everything? No, I mean everything. And they keep on coming back? Well, it sounds like it's time for you to call the Scream Team. Voorhees, Kruger & Associates, Killers at Large. Specializing in pest control, extermination, and dream walking, they will ensure your neighborhood is peaceful, tranquil, and free of any unwanted pests. Guaranteed. Efficiency is the core of everything they do at Voorhees, Kruger & Associates. With their patented 5-step killing method, you can rest assured knowing that the job you want done will be handled quickly, quietly, and without too much mess. With several different plans to choose from, including dismemberment, disembowelment, dream stalking, and more, no two jobs will ever be done the same way. As they say, variety is the spice of life. Looking for something a little more custom suited to your problem? Then choose Other when selecting your preferred method of extermination and let your creativity run wild. They also offer pest deterrence and relocation packages, but come on, you wouldn't be calling them if that's how you wanted to handle this situation. Let's be honest. Be sure to use coupon code KILLERSAVINGS, all one word, at checkout to get half off your first extermination. The best part about this deal is that you get to choose which half to keep, the top half or the bottom half, or the left or right if you're into that kind of thing. That's Killer Savings at checkout to get half off your first extermination. Voorhees, Kruger & Associates, Killers at Large. Why call the rest when you can call the best? Now, I've got to get back to what I was doing before you rudely interrupted me. Now be gone! You've got a story to finish. Now where were we?
I struggled. Hey, let me go! Dr. Steiner spoke my name in front of me and told me, "You must remain calm and relax. You need time to recover from the surgery." No, take the bandages off. I want to see. You'll have to wait at least another 3 days before the bandages can be removed, I'm afraid. To do so before could be detrimental to—
But you don't understand!
I shouted. It worked. I can see the light through the bandages. I do understand, and I'm glad to hear that, but you must remember you've been blind for the past 20 years. Your eyes will be extremely sensitive to light, and it could be very painful. You'll need to keep them covered until they've had time to adjust to what light they can already perceive. Fuck you, man! I screamed. If you don't calm down, I'm afraid I'll have to have your arms put in restraints and administer a sedative. He told me in a stern, authoritative voice. I sighed and finally relented. The arms holding me down, which I assumed belonged to a pair of orderlies, released me. Dr. Steiner spoke to me in a gentler tone. I can understand your excitement, and I know you're eager to see again, but this is necessary. All good things take time. If you say so, I muttered. I heard Dr. Steiner leave, but the two orderlies stayed with me in what I presumed was some kind of post-op recovery room to make sure I didn't try unwrapping my eyes myself. I lay there feeling miserable. I could finally see again after all these years, but I was still blind beneath the bandages wrapped around my head. I felt bitter at the irony of it. The next 3 days were going to be an eternity. If I had known what was to come, I would have kept my eyes bandaged. I would have preferred being blind.
Welcome back, my darling deviants. Well, tell me, did you enjoy that twisted tale? Of course you did. I knew you had that air about you, that hunger for the horrific and the macabre. So, did we spook you? If not, then file a complaint with our complaint department detailing all accounts of non-spookiness you found in this video, and we'll get back to you in 2 to 3 millennia. Give or take a business eon or two. However, if you've enjoyed what you've just heard this evening, then make sure you leave a like on this video and annihilate that subscribe button. Such a small act of obedience is exactly what we need to put the food on the table around here. There's only so many days we can have refried kidney and toe jam hash before I'm absolutely sick of it. Spoiler alert, that ship sailed long ago. Now, I must bid you adieu. I've many things to take care of, and this outro is eating into my day off. Run along now. Have no fear, we'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday to bring you another terrible tale. Go forth, my ghastly gang, and stay spooky.